Okay, I think we're live here. I'm trying to work the board, and I'm not always the best at that. So, Henry, let me know. I know he's in the other room. If this is not coming across, can you hear? Let me turn up my headphones here, make sure I can hear what's going on. Ooh, there we go. That's in the studio. Let me see if I can find the right headset. Here we go. Nope. Taking me a little bit. Henry, if you can hear me, you better come out here because I'm not good with a board and I haven't got this going. Sandra, go get Henry. Let me see if this works.
Slide, honey.
Inside, take those off. Inside the studio, turn it all the way off and make sure everybody matches the one at the top. You're not matching them. Not down, up.
Oh, like this?
No, that's down.
Okay.
The other one down.
Like that?
Then down below. Down all the way to match the top.
Oh.
Oh, no.
What?
There you go.
There we go. Okay, now I can hear it. All right, there we go.
I still hear feedback.
I am...
you don't need those.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay, so we're going to get started. I don't usually work the board if you can't tell, but we've got extra people in the studio, and this is the new show, and I am terrible at the technological part. So if anything happens, I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes. We redesigned the WTF to stand for Wasn't That Fantastic? And I'm bringing people in the studio who are absolutely just fun to talk to, people who are doing great things in our community, people that are doing things that you wouldn't expect with their lives. And on that note, my very first guest is a dear old friend of mine and her newly minted husband. We're laughing. Sandra Singer and Andy Koenig.
Hello.
Hi.
And now speak up so we make sure we got you here because I don't have time.
Okay.
And the reason I invited them on the show is I thought that this is a very interesting story. Sandra and Andy are, well, let's say they're no spring chickens. They got married at 69, which was about a year or so ago, right? About a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half ago. And that in itself is unusual. You don't see a lot of people in that age category getting married. And they both love music. And in addition to getting married and traveling and doing some really fun things, Andy has always been a songwriter, but he decided to put these songs together. And Sandra's helping him, and they performed and have a new CD out, and the music is absolutely fantastic. It's fun, it's cool, some of it's poignant, others it's just cute songs. I think they've got a real talent for writing music, and we played one of their songs earlier, and at the end of the show I'm going to play another one. Everyday Hero is one of the songs that they wrote. And another song that they wrote, I've got the CD. I'm going to hold it up and we're going to ask them some questions. So the CD is right here, and we're going to be playing some of their music on KUHSdenver.com. But you also can go on almost any format there is and download these songs. And I'm going to tell you they are very good. My personal favorite is Honey.
Oh, thank you.
But I know your personal favorite is what, Andy?
Well, I think my favorite is Smooth Sailing.
Yeah.
I was having a very good day, and it just sort of came out. I was actually at work, and I was able to record it on my phone. And when I got home, I just wrote it up, and it's basically the same.
It's a great song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Now,
you.
I'm going to ask you a few questions before we talk more about the music. First of all, how did you two meet?
I told you that was going to be one of the questions.
Yeah.
It all depends which one of you ask.
Wait a minute, what, was one brain dead when they met him, or what?
No, Andy's head was in a different spot when I met him. He just didn't meet me,
Well,
I guess, first time. But, yeah.
We met, well, she met me. We were at a party.
They don't remember, they're so old.
Right. No, we were both at this party, and I wasn't there looking to meet anybody. I was with a friend of mine. And Sandra and her friend came up and met with me, and I think with my friend.
Yeah.
And I just didn't remember because this party was very distracting. It was a Halloween party. It was just crazy wild. And that's how she says we first met, which I still don't really remember because...
And neither did Lowell.
I'm not going to ask why you don't remember.
Because we were at this party, and it was very distracting, and I wasn't there looking for any hookups or anything because I already had a girlfriend.
Oh, this plot gets thicker and thicker.
So
here.
No, but I met her later. How much later was it?
Just a second. When we met at the party, as soon as he said, my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
my friend and I said, oh, nice to meet you, bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, and he doesn't remember that, but then he contacted me on Plenty of Fish, which I don't even know if that still exists.
Yeah, that's a terrible site.
Website.
And
Yeah, it's a
we were
terrible
both
site.
about ready to give up on
Plenty
that.
of Fish is a website, like
It
a
was,
dating
yeah.
website.
It was
Yeah,
dating
But this
website.
just gets smellier and smellier.
Yes. We were both getting ready to drop it because we weren't meeting people.
Yeah,
Our experiences were different, but it was bad for both of us. And then
we did
We
meet.
met.
We met off that site, and that time I was going down to meet with Sandra. So
Okay.
that's how it started.
Okay, that's how it started.
Yes.
And I know you dated
Officially.
I know you dated for quite a while before you got married.
Oh,
7
yes,
years.
7
Yeah.
years.
So what took you so long?
That's a big question.
I don't know.
Andy, what took you so long?
Well,
You're busy writing music, right?
well, that was part of it. Well, we also lived quite a bit far from each other, like 40 miles
Oh, yeah,
apart. So we spent most of the weekends together, and it was just kind of an evolving kind of thing, I
Well, I
guess.
also think we were both gun shy because we were both divorced. I mean, it had been 19 years since my divorce was final. I think 16 for you.
And I will say this, that
It's been a while.
it takes people a long time sometimes to trust again. And I think what's so inspiring about your story is that you both learned to trust again. You both learned to put your heart out there, and you weren't afraid at some point to start looking for a person to share your life with. And so many people, when they get older, that just goes away. And I think it's more important when you're older because you have less social scene than it is when you're younger to have someone in your life that is special. You know.
It's true.
I think it's true, yeah. I mean, when I met my first husband, I was 19, and you just don't know what you don't know. And as you get older, I think you get more skeptical and non-trusting.
Yes.
And I had dated a lot of frogs. I mean, a lot of frogs. And so, yeah, it takes a while, I think, to
I think
trust.
it does. Yeah, and I was always so proud of you. And Andy, I didn't know you then, obviously, because I met you through Sandra years later. But I was always so proud that you weren't afraid to get back up, and it took a while to get serious, but you weren't afraid to get back up. And in that process, you knew more and more about what you wanted and who you wanted. And I think that's an important message to women and men is go out there. I mean, if you've had a trauma, a death of a spouse, or you haven't ever been married, or you've had a divorce, don't be afraid to try again, because and it may take several tries, but you can find that person. And if you don't, that's fine. I mean, I wouldn't sit around and be lonely if you didn't, but the reality is that I think some of it is we get afraid. We stop trusting people. We don't want to go out there. We don't want to put ourselves out there. And I think that's one of the most inspiring things that I found in knowing you and knowing you both and witnessing your wedding was that you both found the person and you weren't afraid to go for it. It took a while. I mean,
Took a while.
you had to
for
put
us
your
to go
toe in the
for it.
water first before you
And
jumped
really,
in.
you know, the pandemic, I think, had a lot to do with pushing us over the edge because we were kind of forced to be together more. There was a whole situation that I won't go into here going on at Andy's house with a housemate that got nasty, and he ended up spending a lot more time at my house. So, like, full weeks at my house, not just the weekends.
Oh,
and
then that did it.
so we spent most of our time together during the pandemic.
Now, share with me, if you will. I know you've always been musical and in theater and telling stories and part of a drumming circle, and you play the ukulele and you sing. But did you know when you first met you both had musical interest, or did that come up later in the relationship?
I'm trying to remember when that first came up. It wasn't on the first or second date, I don't think. I think it came up after the first or second date. The first date was just the meeting at the coffee shop. Second date was making out in his...
Oh, there you go. Okay, here we go. I knew it was going to get juicy. I am. I'm going to try to play one of the songs right now in the middle of. I'm going to try to play a song if I don't screw up the technical piece of this in the middle of this interview. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to take whatever it takes. I'm going to. Henry said I could just drag it up here. I think it'll be right there.
There it is.
And I'm going to go ahead and raise the music on this as soon as that one looks like it's done. And we're going to hear one of your songs live. And that's not
What's
yours.
that?
That's not the disco. I'm just going to leave it on lightly until we know, in the background, until we know that it's time to kick. Actually, I'm just going to click yours and start it. To heck with that. To heck with that noise. Here we go. Whatever it takes. Cones 52. And here we're going to go, right here. Here it is.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
Whatever it takes to start my heart.
There it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have to talk a little bit over. Facebook will kick us off.
Yeah, it's one of the country songs. There's rock, there's country, there's kind of soft rock. Or as one of my nephews calls it, yacht rock.
Yacht rock.
That's what Zach calls it.
Could be the old trot, which we don't really want that.
That's
I took you by my side.
That's one of the songs Andy wrote for me.
And did he play at your wedding? There was one that he played. Honey, you played.
Honey.
We played 4 of the songs he wrote for me, but I don't think this was one of them.
We didn't have this recorded. It wasn't in the.
It wasn't in the repertoire.
It wasn't in the repertoire.
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and turn it down. I just want people to hear it. I'm going to try real quickly. We're going to be quiet for a few seconds, and then we're playing this, by the way, on KUHS Denver. We're playing several of their songs. I'm not singing.
She is on the bass, though.
So that's Sandra on the bass.
Yeah.
And that's
Dan.
Lead. Audio is right here. Lead. And you are on just.
I do the scratch rhythm and the singing.
There's Andy. Okay, so I'm going to turn that down in studio. It's still on the air here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that down on the air, folks. If you want to hear more, you're going to have to keep listening to KUHSdenver.com, or you are going to need to go and download the songs. So there we go. Okay, we're back to normal now. I just wanted people to have a chance, as we were talking, to hear what we were saying, you know, and what you were singing, because the music I find charming. I really do. And there's some of it that I just love. Like they have great hooks. I think one of the things, Andy, that I found in your music was the hooks are really good.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and they get you, and the choruses grab you, and you want to hear more.
That's
Yeah.
what he's going for.
Yeah.
Yep, you gotta do something.
So
like
are you
that.
gonna you want to be like a rock star? What's the deal with this? I mean,
Yeah, let's see. I've got to regrow a little hair.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to do it before your hair's gone.
And get younger. Yeah. We can go on the road.
It's already gone. Oh, no. Well, I just enjoyed the songwriting. I probably started doing it about 20 years ago. I was with. We were going to this small church, and I got together with a few other guys, and we got to write our own stuff, and we got to play once a month. And so we used to, we got into some rock and roll church type music. And not exactly Christian.
There we go.
Christian
We'll all do
music.
this while Andy's talking. Yes.
So that was kind of the beginning of it. And then eventually I wanted to evolve out of just making inspirational music, so to speak. But it still creeps back in to a lot of the tunes. Most of my tunes, I like to have some kind of inspirational idea in the song. There is some political songs, but not on this album.
Yeah, we tried to keep this one pretty
You did
mainstream.
write a song that I happen to like, and we won't get political because I'm trying not to do that on this show. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. It's really hard, though. These people make it really hard. But
Which one?
Mar-a-Lago. I wrote a song called Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, that's not on
and
this album either.
If you that is a great song. It's funny. It's poignant. It's hysterical, really. It's great.
I'm going to try to find a way to upload that.
Yeah, do. Because I think some people, not everybody, some people won't want that song, and some people will. Well, half the people will, and half the people won't. But it's really clever, and it's fun.
Oh, thank
It
you.
always brings me joy when I hear it, because it's just funny, you know.
It was meant to be funny.
All right, now tell me,
Got a
let's
few
talk a little
favorites.
about a couple other songs on here. I've mentioned and Honey, We Got It Going On. I think that you played that at your own wedding. They performed at their own wedding, by the way.
Yeah.
They had their wedding and then they got up and they were the band. It was great. It was like, okay, and are you the cook too? I was waiting. I was like, wait a minute. They were the rabbi, they were the priest, they were the...
No, we were not.
I'm just
We
kidding.
probably should have been the cook, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that was a whole other story.
But, so tell me about the inspiration behind It'll Take a While, because that's a pretty cool song too.
Okay, It'll Take a While is basically a divorce song. So that song goes way back. It was one of the first songs I wrote after my divorce, which was finalized in '09. So if you want to know the story of my divorce, it's in that song.
Okay, we all want to know the dirt, Andy. We want to get the dirt in your divorce.
Well,
Well, Shelley might be listening, so maybe not.
Yeah, you might have children listening. Better not.
Oh,
It's not.
no.
It's not cool.
It's a sweet song. It's a love song, but it's about a love that's over.
Okay.
So that's really the
And that-
inspiration there.
And that does happen. You know, everything.
Oh, sure.
Like what is that old? To everything there is a season.
Yeah.
You know, and
I
sometimes
think
the
it's very
season just
relatable.
it gets really cold. That's it.
I think
You
that
need a
song's
new
really
blanket.
relatable. And that's another country song. And I think that was really
But not all are country.
Oh, no, no,
No,
no.
no.
Which one's on your new CD? And it's called, by the way, again, KUHS 52. And the
With a
title
K.
of it is Whatever It Takes. It's original music and songs. And I was asking about being a rock star. So are you hoping that someone that is currently an artist will pick up a song and want to use it and sing it? Or are you hoping to go on a tour? What do you want to do? You trying to buy a Winnebago or what?
We did. We went on the tour today. We came over here.
That was the tour.
That's the tour. No, actually, no. We're writing the songs. Hopefully, people will pick up on them, and enjoy them, and maybe somebody will cover a song.
Well, I think there's many. I think every single song in this album is good enough that someone, if they wanted to, could cover it, and it would be a hit. I mean,
Thank
you are an amazing songwriter, and
Thank you.
and you don't sing too bad either. You guys aren't too bad. It's fun listening to you, and it's cute, and knowing your history behind it. So, if you really want just to have an enjoyable musical moment, I'm going to tell you, just go ahead and get KUHS 52, whatever it takes. Download any of the songs or all of them, and it's on what platforms, Sandra?
Okay, well, I was just going to say, my personal favorite is Smooth Sailing, which is the first cut. And for one thing, I'm playing a few different instruments on that one and singing two harmonies.
So, what are you playing?
I'm playing bass, I'm playing djembe drum. I don't remember if I played ukulele on that or not. And I'm singing two harmonies. And
Wow.
but it's the song that's gotten the most downloads and views and listens so far.
So you
on
can
the
walk and chew
platforms.
gum at the same time, is what you're saying.
Well, it's separate tracks. We
Okay,
don't do
okay.
it all at once. So
That's amazing.
Spotify is probably the easiest to find our stuff on. I would
Mhm.
say you don't have to pay, from what I can tell. You do have to sign up,
Mhm.
but you can just go on there and look for KUHS 52. That's with KUHS with a K,
Mhm.
52, KONES.
It has to be KUHS 52.
Yeah, you can also look it up by the song title and KUHS 52.
But you need to include KUHS 52. Because
Correct.
that's the best way to identify it. And
Right.
that's with a K, again, KONES 52, KUHS 52.
Right.
Okay.
It's on Apple Music. It's on Amazon Music, although, as we discovered, Alexa's a little finicky.
Yeah, she is
But-
finicky. One time she'll play the song, next time she'll play something that's not even related to the song.
Right,
It's
right.
like, what?
So it's kind of weird. So best to go directly online to look for the songs. And I think you found it on a couple of other
I
platforms.
found it on a couple of other places too.
And YouTube.
Yeah,
And it's
and
on
YouTube.
YouTube.
And you have a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
what is the channel? Tell them about the channel, how they can find that.
It's Andy Koenig Music.
Spelled
It's just,
Koenig.
it's just your regular
It's KONIG, right?
KOE.
KENIG.
KOEN.
Yeah, KUHS is actually a nickname for a grandkid.
Oh.
And we would have named the band KUHS, but somebody had it. So
had
we
it.
had to add my birthday.
Oh, now someone's going to steal your identity. Now they know that your birthday is 52.
Right. Well, the whole year. It took a whole year.
But
Also,
So-
I want to mention there's a couple of good straight up rock and rollers.
and which
on
ones
there.
are on here?
I Got You is awesome rock. And the guitar is amazing, and of course Everyday Hero.
Everyday Hero is wonderful. We actually have a video, and you graciously allowed us to
Mm.
use it. And they're going to hear just a small segment
terrific.
on this interview, but there's also a promo running on the station about the Minoru Yasui community volunteer award winner, and that it's in there. And I also tell people how they can find the
Thank
song.
you. I actually was inspired to write Everyday Hero when we were coming back from Wyoming, and we were at a truck stop, and there was a big poster, and it said Everyday Hero, which had to do with truck drivers and everyday heroes. We're all,
People that just get up every day and go to work and
yeah,
do their
and
jobs.
believe me, that
yeah.
song is definitely me when I'm working.
And I think it's also those volunteers and those people that just make it happen. I mean,
Oh,
no matter
absolutely.
how tired they are or how sad they are or what's going on in their life, they just
You got to get
you
up.
got to get up and do
You
it.
gotta
Just
go.
do it, right? It's like it's almost Nike should take it.
It's it's the Everyday Hero anthem. It really is.
It really and it's a great song.
Well, thank
And then you have It Only Took One Time.
That's a love song too. That one we played that one at
Was
the
that
wedding
to
too.
Sandra or somebody else?
Mhm,
I,
that
was,
sounds
I was
from
trying to
Sandra.
cause a fight.
That's for me.
I was trying to cause a fight, but it didn't work.
It was for you, Rhonda, but I didn't want to tell you.
Shh, we don't want to tell Sandra. Okay, and then you also have Everyday Hero. So you have 8 songs on the CD.
Mhm.
And again, you can download Spotify is the best way to do that, or you can keep listening to KUHSdenver.com because we're going to be playing several of these over the next, I don't know, however long Henry will let me play them.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, it's really good music, and I think it's important to promote local songwriters and artists because, like I said, I think that all of you, I think one of the things with this show, trying to find inspiration and good news and hope instead of all this anger that's built up in people, and whether it's justified or not, it's making us all, our stress levels are all rising. And one of the most beautiful things about music is it can evoke emotion, it can help relieve stress, and it can bring happiness.
And have a little fun.
And have fun. That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, we
And-
get together with our friends on Sunday evenings usually and play.
I've heard that, and it's fun. I mean, it's like
It is
great. I
fun.
go over there, it's like I feel like I'm getting a private concert. It's like, this is great. But also, I think you both have an inspiring story, like I said, because I'm just checking because I want to make sure I don't go over my time limit here. It's so unusual to see somebody who finds the love of their life when they're a senior, marries that love of their life, and then decides, let's write it out. Let's put a CD together. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Hey, let's become rock stars.
And this is only 8. He's got over 50 songs
I know.
that he's written.
I mean,
So
there are other
a lot more.
songs that I've heard by Andy that are. I'm always amazed. I just can't get over how prolific of a songwriter you are, and the fact that it took you to be 70 years old before you started pushing them.
Well,
You're busy raising kids, busy earning a living.
exactly. I did. Yep. I
Life
have,
gets in the way.
3 grown-up kids and 6 grandkids, and so it did take about 20 years to get all that done.
Wow. Most of us never do, though. I think the most inspirational thing about doing this, Andy, is most of us put that stuff off, till we're, when I'm retired, I'll do that. When I'm retired, I'll do that. When I'm retired, I'll do that. And then we get there and we just don't do it. It's like I have this piano. I'm like, I'm going to pick my piano playing back up. And I did it for a while, and then, of course, I had a little setback with cancer, and I couldn't do it
Yeah.
anymore. But,
Twice.
and, yeah, okay, twice, but it's okay now. Anyway,
Well, fortunately.
and now
I
I'm trying to
actually-
get back into it, but you put it down so long, and you just don't get back to it, and you did.
Right. Well, it's kind of been, like I said, when I played with these other guys, and one of them had to leave the state and kind of broke up the band, but we did play at this little church. We had a lot of fun, and we got to this point where we were trying to out-rock each other with our songs. It was fun. And I still have some of those songs in rotation, so to speak. None of them made this particular album, but it's been kind of a long process as the years have rolled on. And having Sandra be part of it was definitely a big plus too.
Is she kind of push you along, or did she?
No, I pushed her.
You pushed her.
When I first went to her house and I started playing these oddball songs she never heard of, she just looked at me like, I don't know that song. Let's play something I know.
I can see that. Sandra's never been known for, how should I say this, being demure and quiet, and not sharing her opinion.
Well, when you're playing originals, it takes a certain mindset, and the other 2 people that come and play with us on Sunday are, one of them actually writes a lot of songs as well, so of course he's open to originals, and the other one is a longtime buddy, and he sort of enjoys creating parts. So when you're working on original songs, you're making it up as you go along. When you work on a cover, you basically are trying to emulate what you hear in the cover. But here we don't have that. Here we get to create what we're going to hear and what we're going to play, which of course that's what makes it interesting to me, and makes it more fun and more satisfying.
That's how I'm learning to play the bass too, because
Yeah.
that's my pandemic
But
instrument.
not everybody goes for that kind of stuff.
That was cool. So during the pandemic, you decided to learn another instrument.
Yeah,
That was
well,
one of
we,
your
we
coping
lost our bass
strategies.
player, and so I found a ukulele bass, because I play ukulele. I used to play guitar, but they're getting to be too big for me. So I got a ukulele bass, and I'm learning to play that.
I didn't even know there was a ukulele bass until I saw you playing
It
one.
sounds terrific.
It's awesome. I mean, it really does. I mean,
It's amazing. You can't tell the difference when it's amplified.
No.
And I just want to mention one more thing. Some of the best stuff on this album, and some of the best stuff I ever wrote, was during the pandemic, which is really weird. You would think, you wouldn't think that, but one of the guys that comes over every Sunday was the only one left out of the group during the pandemic, and that even includes Sandra, who would still come over despite the pandemic, and we would work on songs. And we got a little competitive thing going, which is always good. Like he would write one, I would write one, we'd kind of go back and forth, and there's, so that was amazing. I think some of the best stuff came out during that time.
What a great way to take a time that could have been just horrific
Devastating.
and turn it into something that was good. Now, you got married in the pandemic, didn't you, in the middle of it? Because I remember having to wear masks.
Right,
at the wedding.
2021,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
yeah.
So not only, I mean, this is like, it's a pandemic, and we're all sitting around watching Netflix, and these guys say, hey, I got an idea. Let's write an album and get married, and I'll learn to play a new instrument. And this is why, Sandra, I'm going to bring in your mother and father only because I know that it's difficult, but that's why they lived and were very with it until they were in their late 90s, am I correct?
Well, my dad's probably listening right now,
Yeah,
so he's still with it.
And yeah, there he is. And how old is he?
97.
And your mother was what when she passed?
She was 97. She
So-
passed.
And I
at the
met
end
her
of
when she
October.
was, I don't know, maybe 90, and I thought, I mean, she was like the Spitfire, just doing everything. And
She was 87, yeah.
when I
It
met
was
her,
my
yeah.
60th birthday party.
so I would
Yep.
say that I think that attitude of still learning, of still wanting to learn, of wanting to create, and getting out and doing stuff, hiking, walking, whatever. I think that's enriched your lives to the point that I would expect that you're still going to be doing this into your 90s.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm writing. I write some songs, but mostly.
She writes really good stuff. I love her songs. They're very different.
All right, we're going to have
Nothing like
when you
mine.
get one done and recorded, or if you can play it in the studio, you're coming back because I want to hear one that you did.
Okay.
I write songs like, men who ride on, no, I won't say it. I write limericks.
And I also write for Medium. If you're on the Medium platform, I have a blog there. And last year I spent most of the year writing for an organization in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, as it turns out, for a project that has halted right now because of financial reasons for the guy, but I wrote about 49 stories for him last year.
Well, I remember you doing
Most
that,
of
yeah.
them about Colorado, which hopefully people will be able to hear because they're audio stories.
Well, maybe we
some
can do
point.
that at one point. I'd like that if not.
Yeah.
All right, and so what I'm going to say is that at the end of the show, after my next guest coming up is going to be Cindy Piggott. Cindy is the chairperson for the Minoru Yasui Volunteer Award program, which is a program under Spark the Change Colorado. And she's going to tell us who Min Yasui was, what the award's all about, and a few other things. And before you run, they're gonna slip out of here, and I'm gonna have Henry. You're gonna have to start that from the beginning because I can see Buck's picture in the back here, and it's not quite lined up yet. I'm gonna have him run that video in just about a minute. I'll let you know when. He's hiding. Henry's like an invisible man today. He's like my invisible friend helping me because I suck at that. But anyway. I just want to say thank you, and I want to thank you for the music because I have gotten so many hours of enjoyment listening to your songs.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
And once again, it's Kones with a K, K-O-N-E-S, 52. You can find this on a lot of platforms, but Spotify's the easiest one. Download a song and listen to it because I'm going to guarantee you what happened to the studio here. Ooh, there we go. I'm going to see, it just went dark and I panicked, and all it was that I needed to move the mouse. I stink at this.
When in doubt, move the mouse.
Usually Henry runs the board for me, so I'm like, but anyway, I just want to say that I'm going to guarantee you're going to enjoy the music and you're going to want to download more. or you can listen to KUHSdenver.com and hear a little bit more from Sandra Singer and Andy Conant.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Rhonda.
And Henry, you can go ahead and run, as soon as they slip out so we can see the screen, you can run the Buckman interview, and we will have Cindy Biggett, our next guest, come on in. Take that chair with you so it's out of the way there. And folks, congratulations to Buckman, the Minoru Yasui Volunteer Community Award winner for March.
I'm Jonathan Asher, and I am the Executive Director of Colorado Legal Services, which is a statewide, publicly and privately funded nonprofit that provides legal assistance to low-income and marginalized Coloradans in civil matters. Most people know that in criminal cases, you have the right to a lawyer, and if you can't afford one and you might go to jail, you have the right to have a lawyer appointed for you at state or federal or local expense. That's not true in civil cases. If you're a victim of domestic violence and need a dissolution of your marriage, if you're getting evicted or can't get Medicaid or Medicare, if you're being foreclosed on or have consumer issues, nobody says you have the right to a lawyer, and if you can't afford one, one will be appointed for you. So we attend to the legal needs of low-income Coloradans when they're facing issues that aren't criminal in nature. Buckman, which is what he goes by, has volunteered with Colorado Legal Services for about 8 years. He had been a prosecutor and then for years an insurance defense lawyer and a well-respected civil litigator, but then he retired and was looking to use his legal skills in a different way and for those who couldn't pay for a lawyer. And so we, to begin with, assigned him to the Family and Children's Unit, where he took a full caseload. He worked full-time. He was a staff attorney. He just wasn't a paid staff attorney, but he was a part of that unit and team. He took some of the most difficult cases of serious domestic violence. He took cases where the client was monolingual and didn't speak English, and he thrived. He was involved in a civil case against human traffickers in the Arkansas Valley. Later on, he worked with our health elder unit and some of our most experienced lawyers in challenging the home and community-based limitation on the hours that a severely disabled person and his or her caretaker can get. What could be more important than making sure the civil needs of low-income Coloradans are met?
My name is Buckman, and I've, for the last 8 years, been a volunteer retired attorney for Colorado Legal Services. My assignment has, generally speaking, been the family and children's law section of legal aid, and at times I've been asked to take on a variety of additional projects or cases for things that needed more skills. I joined typically others and worked with them to supplement their activities and cases. I chose to volunteer at Colorado Legal Services because I think, in a way that is kind of hard to describe, they uniquely use volunteers well. When I raised my hand, they put me into serious cases involving serious problems that needed solving. Their approach was always constructive, always client-centered, but at the same time, my desire to be useful after retirement was more than met by their work and their mission. One of the reasons it's important to volunteer is you're going to be happier. You're just simply going to be happier. When you give to people, you don't always know it at the moment, but you get so much back.
Everyday hero, gotta get going, gotta get out the door. Everyday hero, can't stop now, gotta keep doing more.
Congratulations once again to Buckman, the Minoru Yasui Volunteer Community Award winner for March. If you know a super volunteer and would like to nominate them, visit minyasui, YASUI.org. That's minyasui.org.
The Minori Yasui Community Award is a program under Spark the Change Colorado. Congratulations to Buck Mann,
All right, now
Minori
fill that off,
Yasui
Henry.
Volunteer Community Award winner for March.
I'm Jonathan Asher,
We're gonna turn
and
that
I
off.
am
He's
the
not-
executive
Running
director
again.
of Colorado.
All right, there we go. Thanks, Henry. He was asleep, I think. I think a pretty girl came in the studio and he got distracted. So, all right. So now, Cindy, this with me is my next guest, and her name is Cindy Piggott. Cindy is the chairwoman. I got it right. I kept calling her president. She's like, no. I'm just a committee member. She is the chairwoman of the committee that determines the award and helps raise money for the award and donates to the award and all of those things. And I'm going to ask Cindy to explain a few things. First of all, about who Min Yasui is or was, and a little bit about the award, and then some other questions for Cindy, and then we'll get on to a few other things with it. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And I'm so glad you're here. And I think that this award is one of the best kept secrets in Denver, and it's a shame because not only does the person get recognized, but there's $2,000 that gets given to the charity of their choice. And
Nonprofit.
or the nonprofit, I shouldn't say charity, nonprofit of their choice. So, Cindy, please tell us a little bit about the award, about Min first. Let's start with Min. Tell us a little bit about Min.
Min Yasui was Japanese American. He was born in Hood River, Oregon, and he graduated high school at 16. He was the valedictorian of his class. He went on to become an attorney, went to undergraduate and law school at the University of Oregon, and he graduated with honors, as well as becoming a commissioned second lieutenant in the ROTC. So he was a busy guy.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't do any of those things. I was lucky just to go to school.
Well, he got through it all. He did it well.
Yeah.
He was unable to find a job in Oregon with a law firm, so he accepted a clerical position with the Japanese consulate in Chicago, which really wasn't exactly what he wanted to do, but at that time that was all.
I was going to say that at that time, a minority, and particularly in those years,
Japanese American.
and Japanese American, it was
tough.
probably tough.
Yeah. So as soon as the word came out that there was an attack on Pearl Harbor, he immediately resigned and he moved back to Oregon, and he wanted to do his military duty. He was denied serving on 9 different occasions.
Wow.
He was an officer in the reserves, but the response was that no American soldier could be expected to follow the command of a Japanese American.
Wow.
So he didn't serve. But for the next 3 months, he worked relentlessly to help other Japanese Americans file paperwork to protect their properties and to prove their citizenship. So in 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. And basically that was to exclude and remove all persons deemed necessary for securing the safety of the West Coast.
And I'm going to interrupt you, and what that translated to was the internment camps.
Exactly.
Am I correct?
Yeah. Exactly. A curfew was put into place saying that Japanese Americans had to stay within a prescribed area around their homes within 5 miles. And Min challenged that. He intentionally went out after the curfew and provoked an arrest. He was convicted and he was sentenced to a year in prison, and he was put in solitary confinement, and they also stripped him of his U.S. citizenship.
Wow. That's pretty harsh.
It was pretty harsh. This actually disbarred him from practicing law.
Oh my goodness.
So in 1943, the Supreme Court reviewed his case, and they upheld the executive order, saying that for security reasons, that was just. But they also said that no one could take away his citizenship.
Because he was born here. I mean, he was.
Exactly.
His parents had been here. Were his parents born here too?
No, his parents were. I don't know.
But I mean, he was born here.
He was born here
by people who were legally here in this country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He had 9 siblings.
And
they
9
were all
siblings.
born here.
Yeah.
So he served 9 months in prison, and then he was moved to an internment camp. And after the war, he came to Denver. And he passed the Colorado bar with the highest score achieved that year.
Wow.
And he spent his career helping other Japanese Americans and other minorities.
Right, because I know when he was a lawyer in Denver, he helped the people, low-income families is what he did.
Exactly.
Before there were programs for that. He did And you had shared his daughter's story, and she was talking about sometimes you got paid in like chickens, you know?
Right,
You know?
right. And his daughter also said, this was kind of an interesting story, that there were 3 daughters. He and his wife had 3 daughters. And they thought that all dads worked all day, came home, ate dinner, and then went out and worked more, because he was involved with so many committees and boards and organizations that were fighting for rights.
And I don't think Denver would look or like it does today, not meaning physically look, but the heart of Denver would be the same if we had not had Minya Sui here as a citizen of Denver and
I think you're right. In 1976, he became part of the Denver Commission on Community Relations.
There we go.
And he was credited at that time with averting the race riots that inflamed a lot of other cities. And in that same year, Denver established a monthly Community Volunteer Award, and it was named in his honor. And that award continues today. It's 47 years old. Originally, the amount of the award was $500. It's now $2,000, thanks to a lot of generous people who have donated to this award and recognize the importance of volunteers.
So, so basically, someone gets nominated. Several people get nominated. A person is chosen by the committee, and they receive a number of things. But of those things, is they get $2,000 for the nonprofit of their choice. So if you're in a volunteer or you're in a nonprofit organization and you're listening, this is a great thing for you to do, to recognize one of your great volunteers, and possibly, you know, if they win, you'll get some funds.
Exactly.
So
ideally, we look for the unsung hero, that volunteer that hasn't been previously recognized, but is really making an impact.
Somebody who's making a difference, who's quietly going along their life, and just the everyday hero, so to speak, going around their life and doing something to make our communities in this area a better place to live and work.
Exactly.
Okay.
One other quick thing on Minya Sui. In 2015, President Obama announced that he would receive a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Wow.
Which is the highest civilian award of the United States. And it was awarded to his daughter, Lori Yasui, at the White House.
Does she still live here, Lori? Is the family still in the Denver area, do you know?
Now you're asking me a question.
I know, I didn't prepare you for it.
I know.
It's my fault.
I believe one of his daughters is in Mexico and goes back and forth.
Okay.
And it may be Lori, I'm not sure.
Okay. But, I mean, they grew up here, and the family lived here until they got married or got older, and and doing fun things that you can do when you're older.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what I find interesting is that this award's been going on for so long, and you're nearing, I say we because I'm on the committee. I'll disclose that. I was on the committee back in 1987, which was about a year after Min passed away.
Exactly.
And then for about 2 or 3 years, and then I'm back on it now, so I do want to let people know that. But one of the things that I always thought was so wonderful about it, but also so surprising to me, was that people just didn't know about it. And it's such a great thing in his honor, and what a great person to have impacted our state and our community. So now, what else you want to talk about here? What do you have?
Well, I would say that over the past 47 years, to let people know, $986,000 has been awarded to 516 nonprofits. So
that's a lot of money. And
that's an impact.
That certainly is. And you're reaching the $1 million mark, right? Soon?
We are reaching the $1 million mark probably January of 2024.
So we need to have a great big celebration for this. The
We
community, all of us in the community, the nonprofit organizations and the people in here, we should have a rally or something. I mean, that's just huge.
Well, for an award to have distributed $1 million to more than 500 nonprofits, I think it's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a darn big deal. But they also get some other things, which I think are kind of, they get a plaque. You know.
They get a plaque, which they can hang up or not. They get a wonderful proclamation from the mayor's office. And in that proclamation, the day of the ceremony is dedicated as that volunteer's day in Denver.
Now, is it Liza on the committee that said that she had won it before she was on the committee? She won the award?
No, she hasn't won it.
No,
Mary Ann,
that's who said it before she was on. Mary Ann did. And she was saying that she was going to, if she got pulled over by a policeman, she was going to hold it up and say, "You can't give me a ticket."
I know, today is my day.
It's my day.
You're designated as Mary Ann Flynn Day, the day that you win.
And so sometimes people win this award, not people on the committee. We don't nominate ourselves or anything like that. but after they've gotten the award, they're interested and they end up joining the committee or
They're-
donating to it.
Right. I think a lot of the committee members are very inspired after they hear about this award and they hear about men's history, and it's something that they want to invest their time and energy in.
And on that note, how did you get involved?
I got involved. I came to Denver early in the late 70s, and I met my husband here. My kids were born here, and then work took us to New Mexico, and we were there for 28 years. Came back to Denver in 2012, and when you move to a place and you don't have children, it's very difficult to find community. So I started volunteering, and I volunteered at a food bank, and began volunteering, and later ended up being employed there, working there with volunteers, and that was how I found community. And through that, I became involved with this award. I've been on the committee since 2017 and chaired it since 2020. But having been a volunteer and seeing the impact that volunteers make, and the fact that volunteers come in all sizes and shapes and ages, they are young and old, they are retired, they are couples, they are couples that want to spend time away from each other, so one will volunteer when the other one doesn't.
And they're rich or they're poor, they're
rich or
everything in
they're
between.
poor, and what really struck me too was that there were so many that brought their children. There were moms and sons, there were fathers and daughters, and you don't have to be old to volunteer, you just have to have the time and the heart to do it.
Well, and you know what I think is so wonderful is that I've been on a lot of boards. I'm still on a couple. And the reality is that this one, sitting on this committee, is the most rewarding thing I've ever done, because you just get to sit there and hear about all these really cool, wonderful people.
It's
And they're so
amazing.
kind and they're so amazing and they're so giving. And so I would encourage anyone to, number one, like Buck Mann just said in his interview, volunteer, because you get more than you give every time. Every single time you get more than you give. And then the other thing is, if you want to support volunteerism, you like the fact that people are doing these things, you can make a donation to help us continue the award, and Cindy will tell you a little bit about that later. Or you can nominate someone to receive the award that you know. It doesn't have to be the charity nominee. It might be your neighbor, and you know what they, it might be their neighbor, and you know this kid has shoveled somebody's walk for the last 20 years, you know, or whatever. It doesn't have to be, you know, an official nomination from a nonprofit, right? It can be from anybody who knows of a person who's just doing kindness and making our community better, or a nonprofit. And then the person, if they win, will have money to give to their favorite nonprofit organization. Cindy, what else we have here?
I was going to tell you real briefly about two of my favorite
Yes, that'd be
recipients
great.
that I've crossed paths with over the past 5 years. The first one was a young man, and typically with these awards you think, oh, it's going to be retired people who are really putting in a lot of time and energy. But we make a point every year of trying to honor a young volunteer who is just kind of starting on that part of his life and including volunteerism in what he wants to do or she wants to do. And when the pandemic first hit, we honored an amazing young man named Joey Cleveland, who had grown up here in Denver, graduated from University of Southern California, excuse me, had a business degree, worked in a financial department of a construction company for years, 4 years. And during that time, he had visited a lot of Midwestern communities and saw the discrepancy between rural and urban health care. So he came back to Denver and he reached out to the Tepeyac Community Health Center.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
And it's a nonprofit that helps provide care to the medically underserved, and they've been doing it for about 25 years. Now, this was in the midst of the pandemic, and they really couldn't take advantage of his volunteer offer at that time. But then the vaccine was made available, and they really needed volunteers. So they called him back. He joined the team, and in his nominating letter, the quote was, "Joey Cleveland is every nonprofit's dream volunteer."
Wow.
He helped with the drive-through services. He shoveled the sidewalks. He went the extra mile to get his EMT license so he could administer vaccines.
Wow.
If there were ever any days where they had extra vaccines that were available, he would go through the neighborhood, knock door to door. He would stop at construction sites and ask if anybody wanted to get the shots. He was bilingual, so he could help in that area as well. And he just made a huge impact there. And ultimately, he decided that he wanted to go back to medical school and serve communities that were underserved. And what they said about him at Tepeyac, which I thought was so cool, was that he would come in every day and thank them for letting him be there. Wow. And their comment was, we can't thank you enough for being here. But he felt so honored to be there.
Oh, wow.
He made a great impact.
That's the kind of story, and that's the kind of person that we want to honor at Midori Yasui Volunteer Community Award.
Can I tell you about one more really quick?
Yes, real quick. We got about 3 minutes.
Okay. The other one I wanted to mention was Don Neufeld, and he was honored in September of 2022. Don was in his 80s. This was also during the pandemic, and he was volunteering at the Stout Street Eye Clinic downtown as part of the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless program. And Don was an optician. He had worked for 40 years with an optometrist who was also working at the clinic. Don retired in 2010, but he had too much time on his hands, and he was bored. And so for the past 11 years, Don has been working at that Stout Street Eye Clinic, helping fit people with glasses, and that's
it's pretty amazing.
a challenging place to be because you're dealing with a lot of homeless
and you're
people.
close up with them.
You're close up.
And that's not, people want to help them, but not too many people want to get that close.
And exactly. Yeah. And at that point in time, many volunteers were taking a step back because of COVID. And Don never did. He stepped up. Wow. And the quote from his nomination letter was, Don's courage strengthened our commitment, lifted our spirits during the hardest times of the pandemic. He continually inspires us to do more and do it better. So from the young to the old.
And that is just amazing. I mean, and there's people like this every single month. And one of the wonderful things, if you decide you'd like to donate to the Minoru Yasui Community Volunteer Award, you can do so by going to minyasui.org. That's the shortened version because the Spark the Change version is too long to say on the air.
Right.
Min, M-I-N, Yasui, YASUI.org. And you can check out how to nominate and how to donate, and even $10. You know, and what's wonderful about this is your money will go to all of these different charities. 10 a year, right? 10 awards a year?
We do 10 awards a year, correct.
10 awards a year, so 10 different charities. All the money, the committee is all volunteer, nobody's paid. So it all goes to these programs and to honor the people who are making a difference in Colorado.
Exactly. Can I give you one last thing?
One last thing.
Okay. So if you have time and you're looking for volunteer opportunities yourself, there are incredible options out there. And you can go to sparktochangecolorado.org. They have a wonderful website, and they kind of serve as a clearinghouse for volunteer opportunities. Volunteering can be flexible, it can be entertaining, rewarding, and meaningful. And it makes you a far more interesting person if you volunteer. And you don't have to commit to one particular nonprofit. You have the opportunity to test drive some, see which might be a good fit for you. And when you do, you will be greatly rewarded. You find the most amazing people, you find community, and at the end of the day, you can come home and feel like you have really made an impact in someone's life.
And it can take your mind off your own troubles pretty quickly.
It really can, and I think that's about as good as it gets.
It really is. And so, Cindy, first of all, thank you for chairing this committee. Thank the entire committee, because I've only been on a few months, but people have been on this for years, and they've been raising money and picking volunteers and volunteering themselves. Most are volunteers themselves. And so thank you. Also, the big thank you to Spark the Change Colorado. Without them, we really couldn't exist. We're under their umbrella. We're a program under them, and you can learn more about Spark the Change Colorado by going to their website, which I think is just Spark the Change.
SparkTheChange.org.
Yeah.
SparkTheChangeColorado.org.
SparkTheChangeColorado.org, and you can also find our programs under there and many other programs that need volunteers and support in making our community a better place to live and work. And Cindy, thank you again for being a guest.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
Rhonda.
going to end the show with the whole version without us talking through it on the radio side of Whatever It Takes by Cones 52. If I can figure out how to do it. I'm not the tech guy. This is like hard for me. I'm going to bring the sound up, and here